There are things in this world that don't make sense. Entire cities built with blocks so massive, modern cranes would struggle to lift them. And yet, they were placed with ease, long before the invention of the wheel.
Stone ruins melted by impossible heat. Gigantic megaliths carved with surgical precision, as if shaped by machines we don't even possess today. Across ancient texts, scattered in myth and scripture, we find whispers of strange objects, devices that could destroy, heal, manipulate nature, or even bend the will of men. Objects that were said to belong to the gods, but which sound more like tools than miracles. Mainstream historians insist these are just metaphors, poetic exaggerations from a time when people couldn't explain the forces around them. But what if they weren't exaggerating at all? What if the ancient gods, the Anunnaki, possessed real, tangible technology? Tools, weapons, flying vessels, energy weapons, artificial life, the power to terraform, to rewrite DNA, to open gates between worlds. These aren't modern inventions. They're ideas etched into the oldest records we've ever found. And the more we dig into these records, from Sumer to Egypt, from the Vedas to the Book of Enoch, the more we find a recurring theme: that humanity was given knowledge, or perhaps enslaved by it. Some of this technology may have been hidden, some of it may have been destroyed, but traces remain in the ruins, in the stories, and possibly even in our blood.
Welcome to the Anunnaki Connection.
Stone. Massive, dense, immovable stone. Across nearly every ancient civilization, Sumer, Egypt, Mesoamerica, we find stone. Used for homes and tombs, for temples, ziggurats and pyramids. Monuments carved to outlast empires. Structures aligned with the stars, encoded with mathematics, and immune to time. Why? Stone is eternal. It doesn't burn. It won't decay like wood or rust like iron. It holds memory. It resists entropy. And it can be cut, shaped, fitted with such precision that even earthquakes struggle to break its grip. In southern Utah, near the edge of Cedar Mesa and the Valley of the Gods, is a plateau called Muley Point. At first glance, it looks like any other desert cliffside, until you see the blocks. Massive, clean-cut, rectangular megaliths with damn near perfect right angles. Some split from the bedrock, others perfectly aligned like a giant's game of Tetris frozen in time. The scale is staggering. Each block is the size of a truck or larger, and some appear to have been dislodged and dropped as if shaken loose by an ancient quake, or something else. Geologists claim this is natural, the result of erosion, freeze-thaw cycles, and sandstone fracturing along bedding plains. But even among geologists, this particular formation is considered unusual. These aren't rounded boulders or jagged cliffs. These are straight, clean lines, right angles, parallel seams, in a place untouched by machinery or modern tools. According to Navajo tradition, this region was once home to giants who walked the land in the time before memory. Some say they came from the stars. Others say they were born of the earth itself. But all agree, they were powerful. The Naye, monstrous entities who could shape stone with their bare hands. The mountains, cliffs, and canyons are the remains of ancient battles, the scars of a forgotten war between gods and monsters. We see massive stones and projects like this all over the ancient world. At Giza, the Great Pyramid is made from over 2 million limestone blocks, some from quarries hundreds of miles away. At Pumapunku in Bolivia, blocks were shaped with such precision they resemble modern machine cuts. In Baalbek, the stone of the pregnant woman, estimated at over 1,000 tons, sitting in place, unmoved for millennia. How? Mainstream archaeology offers no solid explanation. Theories range from wooden rollers to copper chisels, but none account for the precision, the scale, or the logistics. So we're left with two possibilities. Either our ancestors had tools we no longer understand, or they had help. Let's start with the science. In 2018, researchers at the University of Tokyo successfully levitated small objects using nothing but sound waves. Using high-frequency ultrasonic speakers positioned around a target, they suspended and moved tiny styrofoam balls through mid-air. No strings, no contact. Now scale that up. Is it possible the ancients used vibration or resonance to manipulate heavy stone? Tibetan monks have oral traditions describing the use of horns and drums to float stones up cliffs. In Egypt, some believe sound was used to alter the weight or structure of limestone blocks. We don't have definitive proof, but the concept isn't fiction. Quartz-rich stone, like granite, has piezoelectric properties, meaning it can generate an electric charge when put under pressure. If a civilization understood how to manipulate frequency and pressure, is it possible they could soften or disrupt the molecular structure of stone? Some anomalous sites show signs of stone that appears to have been melted, poured, or molded, almost like a kind of ancient geopolymer technique. At Sacsayhuaman in Peru, the stones fit so tightly and curve so fluidly that some researchers believe they were cast, not cut. At Pumapunku, there are drill holes, perfectly circular, evenly spaced. Others are keyhole-shaped. Modern stoneworkers have tried to replicate them and failed. There's no tool in the standard Bronze Age toolkit that can explain it. Not without diamond-tipped saws or high-speed rotary cutters. So what were they using? Was it sonic cutting, laser-like tools, plasma torches, or something completely different, based on principles we no longer understand? Were these tools left behind, hidden, or did they simply vanish? Like everything else we can't explain. Because the stones are still here, stacked, fitted, aligned with stars. They've outlived civilizations, outlasted empires, and they're still here. Three curved blades spiraling inward around a hollow center. It doesn't look ceremonial. It doesn't look symbolic. It looks designed. This is the Sabu Disc. Discovered in 1936 at Saqqara, inside the tomb of an early official named Sabu. The disc dates to Egypt's first dynasty, around 3000 BC. Made from metaschist, a brittle and delicate stone, it was broken into pieces when found. But once reconstructed, it revealed a shape that didn't belong. The disc resembles a modern flywheel, a rotor, a precisely engineered part meant to move, spin, or transfer force. But metaschist isn't strong enough to do any of that. It flakes under pressure. It can't handle torque or stress. Was this version of the disc functional, or was it a copy, a replica of technology far older than the tomb it was buried in? Something Sabu's people may have found, studied, and attempted to recreate, not knowing what it truly was. What could the original have been? Some speculate it was part of a gyroscopic stabilizer used in levitation or flight. Others see the geometry of a resonance amplifier designed to manipulate sound or vibration. Its aerodynamic shape could suggest a rotor for energy transfer, mechanical, magnetic, or otherwise. Maybe it was a memory drive, a rotating interface, or a focusing lens in a system that no longer exists. The truth is, we don't know. Across the ancient world, we find symmetry where there should be imperfection, engineering where there should be myth. And in the case of the Sabu Disc, it was made to do something. And whatever that function was, we may never know.
It appears in nearly every ancient culture, a weapon that commands thunder, that levels mountains, that always finds its way back to the hand that threw it. It's been called a thunderbolt, a fire serpent, a lightning axe. But in ancient India, it had a name, the Vajra. The story begins in the Rig Veda, one of the oldest known texts on Earth. The god Indra, king of the heavens, faces a world plunged into darkness. The demon serpent Vritra has stolen Earth's waters, blocking rain, drying rivers, choking life. None of the gods can defeat him, until Indra receives a new weapon. Forged by Tvashta, the divine craftsman, and blessed by Vishnu, the Vajra is said to be neither solid nor liquid, a paradox in form, unstoppable in function. Indra hurls the Vajra, and with it he breaks the serpent. Mountains split, rain returns, the earth breathes again. But this isn't just an Indian myth. In Greece, Zeus hurls thunderbolts forged by the Cyclopes to destroy the Titans and battle the 100-headed serpent Typhon. Early depictions show Zeus holding a rod-shaped weapon. The resemblance to the Vajra is uncanny. In Mesopotamia, the sky god Marduk faces the chaos dragon Tiamat. The gods grant him an unrivaled weapon, depicted as a three-pronged scepter in Babylonian art. It destroys Tiamat and establishes cosmic order. In the Norse world, Thor's hammer Mjolnir is forged by dwarves deep in the earth. It can level giants, split mountains, and always returns to his grasp. Some myths describe it more like an axe or club, others as a notched weapon glowing with lightning. Among the Slavs, the storm god Perun throws an axe at the serpent demon Veles each year, driving him back underground. The axe never misses and always returns. In the Americas, we find the same weapon under different names. The Aztec god Huitzilopochtli wields a fire serpent called Xucoatl, used to slay his enemies at birth. The rain god Tlaloc hurls lightning axes from mountaintops. Even in Aboriginal Australia, the sky gods carry boomerangs said to return when thrown, used to punish a primordial being who tried to defile the first women. These are not isolated myths. The patterns are too specific, too precise to ignore. So what was the Vajra, really? Could a weapon that emits blinding light, cracks stone, and returns to its user actually exist? Modern physics gives us a few clues. We now know that focused plasma arcs, laser pulse discharges, and directed energy weapons can vaporize stone and metal. We've developed railguns that fire projectiles at hypersonic speed using magnetism. And electrostatic propulsion can launch objects without traditional fuel. Clean, silent, and deadly. The concept of returning weapons isn't fictional either. Autonomous drones and AI-guided munitions can now reorient midair and return to base. But all of this is new to us. The Vajra stories are thousands of years old, and the device is always described the same way. Small enough to hold in one hand, unstoppable once launched, able to generate thunder, fire, or light, often formed of metal, sometimes said to contain thousands of prongs or energy points, and in later ages, transformed into a ritual object of peace after its destructive power was sealed away. In Buddhist tradition, it's said that the Buddha took Indra's Vajra and closed its prongs, removing its power, turning it from a weapon to a symbol. That version, made of gold or brass, still exists today, but it may not be the original. It may be a replica. A ceremonial copy of a tool once wielded by real beings, remembered as gods, but possibly something else. If the Anunnaki were here, And if they brought advanced technology with them, then the Vajra may have been part of their arsenal, a handheld energy weapon, a plasma lance, or something stranger, powered by resonance, controlled by thought and lost to time. It's been remembered in myth, copied in metal, reduced to symbol, but it began as a weapon.
In the ancient lands of Canaan, near the lowest point on earth, two cities once thrived: Sodom and Gomorrah, fertile, prosperous, and according to the oldest accounts, utterly depraved. Their destruction was absolute. Genesis 19 records it with striking detail. Two visitors, described as angels, though the original Hebrew uses malachim, messengers, arrive at Sodom's gate. They're not winged spirits. They eat, they speak, they issue direct commands. They seem human, or something close to it. Lot, the only man deemed worthy of survival, begs them to stay in his home. That night, chaos erupts. An angry mob surrounds the house, demanding the strangers be turned over. Then something strange happens. The visitors emit a blinding light, and the crowd is struck with sudden blindness. A localized burst, targeted, disabling. What kind of technology could do that? The messengers warn Lot that destruction is imminent. He is told to gather his family and flee the city before sunrise, but not to look back. The phrase, "do not look behind you," is repeated, almost ritualistically. At dawn, as Lot escapes into the hills, the sky erupts. Genesis says, "Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground." Brimstone and fire is often translated as burning sulfur, but in ancient terms, it meant something entirely unnatural. This was no wildfire. It came from the sky. It flattened buildings, burned crops, scorched the earth. Lot's wife, who turned to witness it, was instantly killed. The text says she became a pillar of salt. Some scholars believe this may describe exposure to a blast wave, or even radiation. And here's where archaeology steps in. At a site called Tal el-Hammam, near the northern edge of the Dead Sea, scientists have uncovered startling evidence: a Bronze Age city suddenly and violently destroyed. Buildings pulverized, clay pottery melted into glass, shocked quartz, formed only under conditions of extreme pressure. Similar to what's found at nuclear test sites like Trinity and Hiroshima. The destruction wasn't gradual, it was instantaneous. Even more curious, soil samples show unusually high levels of salt fused into the earth. One theory suggests a massive explosion in the atmosphere pushed salt from the Dead Sea into the surrounding region, chemically scorching the landscape. Crops failed, trade routes collapsed. The area was abandoned for 600 years. Could this be the real Sodom? And if so, what caused its annihilation? Some geologists point to a cosmic airburst, like the Tunguska event of 1908, when an asteroid exploded over Siberia, flattening 80 million trees. But there's no crater at Tal el-Hammam, no impact, just destruction from above. That opens another possibility: an energy weapon. The Mesopotamian texts mention such things. Weapons of terror used by the gods. The Sumerian tale of the destruction of Ur recounts a similar event. Blinding light, a great wind. People turned to ash, crops turned to dust. The storm devoured the city. The language is almost identical. And in those texts, the destroyers are not comets. They are wielded by gods, by the Anunnaki. Could it have been a form of directed energy, something akin to a modern microwave weapon, a plasma pulse, or even a small-scale nuclear detonation? Military researchers today have theorized about thermobaric weapons that can consume all oxygen in a given area, creating a firestorm. Others point to plasma beam technology, capable of generating intense, localized heat without conventional explosives. Even the blinding flash that struck the mob in Genesis, targeted and debilitating, sounds eerily similar to modern non-lethal weapons developed for crowd control. The Dazzler, which emits intense directed light to disorient, or microwave-based systems like the active denial system that causes unbearable heat sensations in human skin. What if the angels were equipped with such devices? What if Sodom and Gomorrah were not just punished, but executed as part of a broader enforcement of Anunnaki law? Could this have been a show of force meant to send a message to others? And why the warning not to look back? In nuclear detonations, the flash can cause blindness if directly viewed. In some cases, survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki who looked toward the blast site suffered complete ocular destruction. Is it possible that ancient survivors witnessed something similar and recorded it the only way they knew how? And perhaps that pillar of salt wasn't poetic symbolism, but a body desiccated and crystallized by radiation and shock. These are questions of memory encoded in sacred texts, memory backed by archaeological ruins, memory of a moment when the gods, or something pretending to be gods, brought destruction from the sky with unimaginable force. And if such weapons existed once, where are they now? It brought nations to their knees. It led armies to victory, scorched enemies with fire, and struck down the unworthy with a power no one could explain. The Ark of the Covenant was a device, a weapon, a piece of technology left behind when the gods withdrew from the world. According to Scripture, it leveled cities. When the Israelites marched around the walls of Jericho, it was the Ark that led the procession. And when the trumpets sounded, it brought the walls crashing down. Some speculate that the Ark served as a kind of directed energy weapon. Others believe it acted as a targeting relay, marking coordinates for destruction from above. Perhaps a high-altitude platform, a satellite system, or something far stranger. In the book of Samuel, when the Ark was captured by the Philistines, it unleashed chaos, tumors, death, and mass panic. Entire towns were evacuated just to get it out. In 2 Kings, a man named Uzzah is struck dead for simply reaching out to steady it. It radiated something, lethal. It was overlaid with gold inside and out, perfect for conductivity. It was topped by 2 golden cherubim, wings outstretched over the mercy seat, a design reminiscent of dual emitter technology. The Levites carried it using poles, never touching the surface directly. Why? Because of static discharge, radiation, or maybe because the Ark was interfacing with something else, receiving commands or channeling power from a source beyond our dimension. When King David tried to bring it to Jerusalem, it killed a man. He panicked and left it behind in a remote household for 3 months. And yet, wherever it rested, blessings followed. Crops flourished. Livestock multiplied, enemies kept their distance. The Ark could bless or curse. It could protect or annihilate. The Ark vanishes from Scripture after the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem in 586 BC. It's never mentioned again in the inventory of sacred treasures looted from the temple. No record of destruction, no confirmed burial site, only silence. Some say it was hidden, taken to Ethiopia, secreted away beneath the Temple Mount, or guarded by an unbroken priesthood. But even if someone did find it, it likely wouldn't function. Not anymore. If the Ark was Anunnaki technology, something designed to interface with a larger network, then its power source is gone. Whatever command infrastructure it once relied on, whether orbital, aerial, or dimensional, has either been deactivated or left Earth entirely. It's like finding a warhead without the launch code, or a beacon meant to summon something that no longer listens. Perhaps that's by design. If the Ark could still function, what would it do? Would it level cities again? Would it bring down fire from the heavens like it did in the days of Jericho? Or would it simply wait, dormant, until its creator's return? What kind of technology could shape stone with surgical precision, turn sand into glass, or wipe entire cities from the map? If the Anunnaki truly wielded such tools, why don't we find circuit boards buried beneath ziggurats? Where are the batteries, the engines, the gears? Maybe we're asking the wrong questions. What if their devices weren't designed to work alone? What if they required access to a larger system, a network, a power grid, or even an entire vessel we no longer have access to? Think about it. If a smartphone washed ashore in the Bronze Age, it would be little more than a black mirror, a dead artifact. No signal, no servers, no satellites. So what happens when the Ark of the Covenant is unplugged from the source it was meant to interface with? What becomes of a Vajra when the sky chariots no longer descend? It's not that the technology is missing. It's that we might be holding the casings, the shells, the shadows, while the real power lies beyond our reach.